35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1.
It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up.
Hi, and welcome to Mouthwash, a minty fresh take on politics. And welcome. Hey, we have some primaries coming up, and this year it's not going to be just your average. We got a few people going into the polls here voting for a few people. There's actually some contested primaries, and we actually have 5 contestants for the U.S. 7th District Congressional seat in Washington, D.C. here in the 7th District, which is about 2/3 of Marion County. And I have at least one of the candidates backstage here. One's having trouble with getting on, and the other one looks like it's a polar bear in a snowstorm. So that may be issue. But hey, fortunately, we have our first candidate, Bill Allen. He's going to be on first. And how we did that was I sent them I sent them a message with the link and said, hey, pick a number between a 1 and 100. And Bill was second place. Rusty won, and he picked to go last. And then Jen Pace got what was left over. She's in the middle. So hopefully she'll get her problems worked out and we can get her on there. Or otherwise, this is going to be Bill Allen's going to get a little extra run here. So hey, I just want to thank you for tuning in. And this is like I said, we're getting into that primary season now, and we're trying to give candidates a chance to come on and tell us what they're about and what's going on, and answer a few questions by the panel. I don't even see Ed back there. I don't know if South Bend fell into the Lake Michigan or what, but I don't see him backstage. So we may just have the 2 lovely ladies and me tonight on here. So I'll make sure I ask a couple questions. So this will be it'll be a good show, and we're going to learn about Bill Allen, because honestly, I don't know much about him. I sent a message out to him, and he contacted me back, said he'd like to do this. We did have Jared Walters. I sent him a message, no contact back. Angela Grabowski sent her several messages, and she did not get back with us. So what we have here is we have Bill Allen first. And where I'm going to go ahead and bring on what's left of our panel tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and bring on Lucy. She's actually got a new little banner back there. Let's see hey, Lucy, what's happening? I want men with guns to violently force their opinions on my neighbors, or what's that say?
This is the voting system that we have, right? You're voting for one group of authoritarians or another, and at the end of the day, they're going to use guns to enforce their opinions on you.
Oh yeah, these are the guns I'm going to use. This is the gun show. Yeah, welcome to the gun show.
I can't flex my guns, because then you'd see my bat wings. My mom used to call them her angel arms. I'm like, no, you're just that.
Okay, I'm not even going to comment on that. I know when I'm
Don't comment. You'll get into trouble with all the women with angel arms.
So are you excited about questioning tonight? I mean, because you ran for the Senate against some people, and
I did.
You were in the big time at one time. So
Oh yeah, the big time. Yeah, with lots more makeup on than I have right now, and a little bit thinner too. So
you look fabulous.
I may have to come out of retirement for that. We'll see. But we
You
have
may.
an awesome Senate candidate this year, so I'm very happy it wasn't me.
Well, you've done your part by a long shot, but we'd love to see you try it again, because I thought you did a very good job at that debate with those guys. So
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring Tiffany on here. Tiffany, how are you this evening?
Perfect. Everything's great.
Does anybody know where Ed is?
I don't know.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, that's
Ed got left out of the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember, he said his employer was giving him some hard time about that. April 1st, he may not have to go. Maybe his employer came and cut his cable because he's not here. But hey, we're going to have some fun. Tiffany, are you ready to ask some questions of candidates, if we can get them all on here?
I'm excited. I am well rested. I had a long mom's weekend down at IU, and I'm finally not tired anymore.
Now, did you go see Ann Coulter? Was she down there this weekend?
She might have been, but Michaela had a pretty tight schedule for me. Frat parties, we went out. I went to 2 IU baseball games. I'd never been to a college baseball game before, despite spending 5 years on Chapel Hill's campus. So, so that was really nice. She's dating a guy on the baseball team, so it was nice to support him and go to a baseball game.
All right. Well, I didn't even know you had a baseball team, so there
you
go.
Pretty good.
Yeah, apparently they do.
And they serve beer at the games.
Well, I went to IUPUI, and my most favorite memories are of the football team, undefeated since 1969.
Oh, okay. IUPUI. Oh,
there is no
football team.
Yeah, there's no football team.
You got me on now.
Still undefeated though.
They're undefeated. Yeah, they're not. They're feated. But all right, hey, let's get to it. We have. I was hoping that we get one up. I don't know if we're going to see Rusty. All I see is a blank screen here, but I do have Bill Allen, so I'm going to bring him on, and then we'll put him in the spotlight like we do. Let's see. No, not you, Tiffany. Sorry. There's Bill. Bill, how are you doing this evening?
Good. Happy to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Well, hey, you know how hard it is to get some press. If you're not one of the chosen ones, it's very difficult to get out and get some press and be able to get a message out. And we have a few viewers on this show, and but our viewers, they might be small, but they are mighty. They are very informed folks that they will be asking questions in the chat live. So when we see something here that might fancy our trigger our fancy, we'll put it up there. And can you see the live chat on there? If you go to the comments on the top, if you see something that you want to answer, you just tell me. I'll put it up and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, we'll go into the questioning here, and we'll go with the old pro Lucy Brenton first, right out of the gate. What do you have for Bill tonight? Hold on. Let me back up. I got way ahead of myself. I wanted to get Lucy out here to ask questions and see if, Bill, tell us about yourself first. Where's my manners? Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Okay. Born and raised in Indianapolis, and attended Catholic elementary school, part of the time in high school, and graduated from John Marshall Night School. Joined the Marine Corps straight out of high school. 3 years during the tail end of the Vietnam War. Did go to the Pacific, did not go to Vietnam. Came back, did a few odd jobs, moved to California. From there, moved to Australia. Spent about 1.5 years working in Australia, New Zealand, and then traveled overland from those two countries all the way to Europe. So I was passing through India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all of that. Came back to the States, got serious about an education, went back to California, started college, came back and went to IUPUI, got an undergrad in physical therapy. Started immediately with that, still had some GI Bill left, did law school at night. And after about 2.5 years, went ahead and did law practice with what is now Plough, Shadley, Racher, and Braun. I was an environmental law practice, did that for about 4 years. They were great people to work with, but in the end, I decided I was a better physical therapist than I was a lawyer. So I've been a recovering lawyer ever since. Let's see, built a couple companies. When I got out of the law practice, I started a contract company for physical therapy. There are a lot of small rural hospitals in central Indiana that were struggling to find physical therapy coverage. So I would take those contracts, settled down with a physician practice on the northeast side, pain management, and did that for about 5 years while I was there. Acquired 3 apartment communities on the east side of Indianapolis, rehabbed them, had a great time doing that, still working for the doc. I also built an outpatient physical therapy center devoted to balance impairments. So we're at about 2,000 here. And my wife and I had looked several times at maybe going overseas to serve. We feel like we've been blessed here in America, all kinds of opportunities to do basically anything we want to do. And so sold both businesses, quit my job with a physician, sold our house, sold most of what we owned, put a few things in her mother's basement, and went to Bangladesh for 4 years on her own dime to work in an NGO. What is that? Non-governmental organization, basically a Christian not-for-profit in Bangladesh, which is next to India, south of Nepal, south of China. Did that for 4 years, loved it. It's a Muslim country, beautiful, wonderful, very friendly people. Came back to America around 2005, and started another company, a home health care company on the south side of Indy. Just exploded, was a tremendous experience. Sold it in 2010, continued to work for the new owner, did a PhD on the weekends, finished that around 2014. Was looking around, my wife and I talking, what should we do? How should I use this? And long story short, I feel like I'm gifted cross-culturally. It's what I enjoy doing. I think it's what I'm good at. And so this opportunity arose in China to teach through a university in Kansas. And so I did that for 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, or 2019, 2020. So it was a great experience. Really loved the Chinese people, got a very good education in terms of how the Chinese Communist Party operates. And so now I'm back in the States, back in Indiana for good. Most of last year, I was putting together an outpatient clinic for a company in Arizona. And then I moved back here around December of last year. And I've been at a new startup clinic here in central Indiana ever since. That's what I do. My bread and butter is physical therapy. I love it.
Wow. You must be about 80 years old with that
I am.
list of stuff you've done.
A couple facelifts, can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Wow. We're loading up with questions here. I'm going to go with one real quick one before we get to Lucy, because I was like chomping at the bit on that. Do you live in the district? That's one of the questions we're going to ask everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. I did until October. I'm in Perry Township, but of course, as we all know, it was redrawn. Now I'm outside the district, but I've been in Indianapolis. Lived on the east side, north side. I drove a church bus on the west side forever, lived on the south side. I know Indianapolis very well, but I'm not in the district.
Yeah, I'll give you a pass on that. I mean, some of the parties probably wouldn't, but because of the district lines. But what's that? Close is good in hand grenades and horseshoes and all that. So, okay, that's one of the questions that we'll ask everybody. And then, and Lucy, your husband's gonna slip in here before. If you could, Bill, give us your 3 main talking points, elevator speech style. because I want to get to some other questions. So Lisa probably gonna ask that anyway.
Yeah, what I'd like to accomplish as a congressman, I'll tell you, I think a lot can be done for Indianapolis as a congressman. I don't see a whole lot that's happened in the last 14 years, but that's a very powerful position. You have the ability to propose legislation that favors Indianapolis to, number one, address public safety. I feel like that's a big one. I feel like crime in Indianapolis does need to be addressed. It's not something that's out of the purview of a congressman from the district. Education, and many of the other problems, but public safety is by far number one. And I think quite a bit can be done from Washington for Indianapolis.
All right. So let's see. Let's go to now, Lucy. Now it's your turn. I'm going to keep going through there. And if you do see a question you want to jump on there, then I see Dorn's already putting AOC up there. Like, are you going to have an office next to her? No, we're not going there. Lucy, what do you have?
Oh, Bill, it's so nice to meet you, and thank you for running. I ran for United States Senate a couple of times, and the campaign trail was absolutely brutal. In fact, your main opponent, Andre Carson, was also on the campaign trail. What a consummate politician. How do you plan to break that dynasty since it's now a family-owned?
Yeah. Obviously you can't do it without moving Democrat voters over to vote. And in this case, since it's been redrawn, it's got to be a sizable number. I don't think there's any real challenge to communicate to the constituency that there are problems with public safety. They know that. They live in the city. And I think that we're all on the same page in terms of wanting to do something about it. So I've had conversations with Black pastors. I've had conversations with others that are leaders in the community. And the question is, how do we address this? What do we do different? But the first issue is convincing them that I'm a better candidate than Andre Carson for this position to really get something done. So how do I do it? I meet with people. I listen to them. I propose some of the things that I intend to do that I think are possible, that could be really good for the city. And one of those things is that I believe it's possible to submit legislation that is framed as a pilot project. So it's not a huge amount of tax dollars. It focuses on Indiana, and I would pair up with a Democratic congressman or congresswoman from a similar city that has similar problems. And let's put our heads together and figure out the several various ways that we can help our constituents, our districts, to combat drugs, gangs, violence, all kinds of things.
Well, not to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure that you know that I'm also a native-born Hoosier. I graduated from Northwest High School, and I went to Broad Ripple High School for ballet, for the performing arts, and also the Center for Instructional Radio and Television. So that was, my great public school experience in Indiana. But may I suggest that if you actually want to defeat Andre Carson, that you might take on some more libertarian positions to appeal to that constituency. One which would be, if you're really serious about fighting crime, then let's make sure that the people who are potential victims of crime have every opportunity to defend themselves. Mm-hmm. And so let's make sure that their Second Amendment rights are recognized as they recently were in this state. And let's just put it out there. Let's stop throwing Black men in jail and Black women in jail for having a plant in their possession. If you really want to get to the constituency, then let's look at the problems that they have, which are associated with the criminalization of a plant. Andre Carson's not standing up for those people in 7th District. Is that something that you would do, or are you one of those Republicans that want to control how I feel about myself and whether or not I'm happy or sad smoking or not?
Of course, we're talking about marijuana here, right?
Yes, we are talking about cannabis. I prefer not to use the term marijuana because it was actually used as a racial slur. Cannabis.
Yeah, I think the federal government's going to jump in on this sooner or later because the states are all kind of moving in this direction. I would not necessarily be in favor of legalizing it. I think that it leads to problems, but I think that's probably where we're headed. I mean,
it's an amazing opportunity for the court system to continue to perpetuate the profit that is upheld by the private prison system in Indiana, which literally guarantees that they will be full. And the easiest way to do that is to throw nonviolent drug offenders, in prison.
No, I agree with exactly with what you just said. But there are other ways to handle it apart from legalizing marijuana. But again, my personal opinion is that the federal government sooner or later is going to step in and make that decision for us. I'm not sure.
I'm just telling you how to win in the 7th district. And that's to actually, instead of giving lip service, to them, to actually go to where the problems are, which is if there's violent crime, they should be able to defend themselves, and let's stop criminalizing people over a plant.
Okay. I've noted those 2 points.
Yep. You want to win, you'll do what I say.
Lucy, do what Lucy says. We have a rule on our show. Just don't.
That's right. That's how you win. You just do what I say.
I think Charlie Brown had a song like that. Da, 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 Lucy said. I think it's in one of the Charlie Brown cartoons.
Yeah, don't pull the football.
Great advice for a nickel. Where's my nickel? I got a nickel around here somewhere.
Yeah, let Bill kick the football, Lucy. Don't be pulling the football out. So Tiffany, give us your expert question here.
You talked a lot about your background in healthcare and service, and like John said, you're a little bit older. You said you were served in Vietnam, so you're a little bit older.
Vietnam era, toward the end of the war.
Toward the end of the war. Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. So you didn't tell us what motivated you to run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in understanding that.
Sure. So again, native of Indianapolis, even when I'm overseas, I've spent a total of 9 years overseas, but I'm watching the news. I'm always listening to what's going on, trying to keep track of current events in the United States. Even in China, my students, I had about 250 students every semester, and they would come up to me and they would say, "Oh, we saw this on the internet. Is this your city? What's going on? Can you explain this?" So from afar and near, I see the changes that we've undergone in Indianapolis, as well as in our country. I believe that we're polarized. I don't believe much is accomplished on the far left or the far right. I think what happens in America that makes America strong, that gives us the value for the diversity that we have, and it's a blessing, not a curse. The fact that we are so diverse, we have to deal with it, and we're stronger because of it. So I'm getting involved because I believe this position needs someone who can work in the middle, work with people, find folks that we can join with on either side of the aisle to get some things done that are really good for the people, instead of sowing division and parroting a far left or a far right line.
So tell me a time you worked in the middle and you brought people together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in business, I've created 3 businesses in Indianapolis, one not-for-profit. In business, especially when you're licensed by the federal government, for example, a Medicare certified outpatient clinic or home care, you have to meet demands of many, many different people. You've got your patients, you've got your insurance companies, you've got your doctors, you've got the payers. So this is where you need to figure out, number one, what is the goal, and number 2, how to get there. And so you've got many different interests to satisfy and to serve. Another example would be in China. In China, I'm an American. The government doesn't trust me simply because of the passport that I carry. And in the classrooms, there was a student in every single class who was a member of the Communist Party. Their weekly duty was to report to their supervisor anything that they saw from the foreign professor that was untoward, that needed to be addressed. There were cameras in the classroom, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to figure out how to find the middle, how to convey truth, how to convey the course content, and in addition to, if you want to say it this way, towing the line, being respectful of the Communist Party government who has allowed me to be there. But you're bringing different interests together to accomplish the goal of educating students. So in business, in service in China, in service in Bangladesh, it was kind of the same way. It was a Muslim government. So you need to learn how to get along with people and how to make things work.
Sure. So I appreciate that. It'd be great if you had some experiences here, kind of stateside, maybe some more political experience, but that's not a big deal. So my final question is, how do you distinguish yourself from this crowded field of Republican candidates?
Yeah. I've got, not that it really matters that much, but I've got degrees in 4 different professions. I've worked in 4 different professions. I built companies in Indianapolis. Been here all my life, so I think I know the turf. But how do I distinguish? 9 years living cross-culturally in many, many different cultures. I think that's the key. I think the key is to be able to work with other people who are not like us or don't have the same interests or the same priorities, but still there is common ground. We need to come together on those points where we can work together and make a difference. And I believe I'm well equipped with a unique set of skills.
So one of my big things when it comes to diversity and working cross-culturally is that, especially up here in Fishers and Hamilton County, I believe that a lot of change happens when we change the composite of people that we sit around the fire pit with and we drink beers with on Saturday nights. So tell me, do you have a diverse population of friends that you interact with socially on your own time?
Socially, no, because I have no social life. My life is essentially working. I work 12-hour days in the clinic. So do you have a diverse set of friends? I only ask this because you talk about being able to work cross-culturally and understanding different cultures. And I think that true change happens when we take time to really understand other people. A lot about this 7th district, it is very diverse. And and you said that you'd spoken with some of the Black pastors, but I think that some authenticity and some genuineness in accomplishing some of this happens when we take some time learning that other perspective. So that was the motivation behind that question. Yeah, and that's a fair question. But I have just moved back here since December, and in terms of deep friendships, I've got folks that I knew 40 years ago that I still keep in touch with. But my life, in terms of a social circle, I've got church. This would be as one social circle. But beyond that, I'm not joking. My life is work. That's what I do.
Sure. So my only question is that with the district being so diverse, I just wonder about representation. Because it is so diverse. That was the only motivation behind the question. It wasn't a gotcha or anything like that.
No worries. Every day of the week, I am with a diverse population, and it is my patient population.
But aside from like just the working part of it and the politics part of it, is it part of like if you're going to have people over for Sunday dinner, or if you're going to go watch a game, if you got Colts tickets, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you have that diverse set of friends, and are you truly understanding what that experience is? And I don't know how big a deal it is if you live in or out of the district, but I just think that could be a little bit of a barrier.
The truth will be in the pudding. If I get the opportunity, if I prevail in the primary, and it's me against Andre Carson, I believe I have that skill set. I believe that I have the ability to relate to anyone. And I don't have a diverse set of friends that I hang out with because I just don't hang out.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that being said, our time is about up. I'm going to let you have a last parting comment here, Bill. And I've been just intrigued sitting here listening to you. Definitely have a lot of life experience. You may not have a lot of friends, but you've done a heck of a lot of stuff. So that's good in my book. And you live in Perry Township, and I went to Perry Meridian, so I'm giving you a free pass on all that stuff. So anyway, go ahead and close it on out for us. And then I do see, the good news is I see Jen Pace back in the backstage there. She has it all together. Rusty's still trying to figure it out, but he's got another person. So go ahead, Bill, let's close it out. And then we'll go to Tea Time with Adam, and we'll bring on our next guest.
All right, listen, the only thing I want to say is that I really appreciate you folks coming together. It's your time as well to be able to make this happen and to be able to get people like me in front of other folks so we can explain who we are and what our hopes are for the position. So again, thank you for that, and good evening.
All right. Thanks, Bill. We do appreciate you coming on. And it was short notice, by the way, and I think you did a very good job. So we're going to go ahead and we'll shuffle some things in the back there. But let's go ahead, and we have Adam Harvey, Tea Time with the Tea Party, on here next. And we'll see you on this other side with our next guest, Jen Pace.
Good evening. This is Tea Time with the Tea Party, and my name is Adam Harvey. I serve as the chair of the Central Indiana Tea Parties, and I live in the 7th Congressional District, which we are going to discuss tonight. As streets crumble and crime runs amok, my current Congressman, Andre Carson, has a lot of priorities that are, quite frankly, out of whack. He focuses on arming our enemies around the world and turning his back on Israel. He also spends a good portion of his time focusing on duplicating failed transportation projects like the Indigo Red Line. The Red Line is such a failure that customers are currently riding it for free. You see, when they're not footing the bill, these projects run amok, and they continue to cost you, the taxpayer, even more. I want someone who understands the value of a dollar. I want someone who has real-world skills and real-world contributions to bring to an office as important as a congressman. Former President Donald Trump demonstrated many things to us. He demonstrated how you could get in trouble on Twitter. He demonstrated how you could be very rude at times to people. But he also demonstrated to us what it means to be a real fighter. And he also demonstrated to us the very real value of having someone in public service who has experience signing the front of a check and not the back. I think it's very important tonight, as we hear from these candidates for the 7th Congressional District, that we look for people who laud success, who treasure American capitalism, and who speak highly of the achievements, not just that they've been able to do themselves, but also speak highly of the achievements of others. Our small business owners, our entrepreneurs, they understand and they exemplify what it means to live the American dream. Look for someone tonight who doesn't use those achievements as a reason to sow distrust, like Andre Carson and other Marxists have done for decades. Look for someone who will represent you in Congress with a fighting spirit, with a record of success. And if we do that, we will have someone in the general election who can take down Andre Carson and carry the needed message of American exceptionalism, free enterprise, and defend capitalism. My name is Adam Harvey, and this has been Tea Time with the Tea Party.
All right. Hey, Lucy, how'd you sneak out there in the front? There's our next guest. It's and I'm in the wrong spot. It's just all going crazy. But hey, we're holding it together with a string and with some tape tonight. So, Jen Pace, how are you doing this evening?
Very good. Thank you, John. Nice to meet you, Lucy and Tiffany. Yeah. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I was a little concerned with your internet connection there, but you've come through quite well here. You got a background and everything, and
I've
all
got
that. So.
DuckDuckGo, and I was using that as a browser, and it kind of
Duck went.
About, so I had to loosen up the browser. So
yeah, Duck do something happened there. So
right.
But hey, anyway, welcome to the show. I'm just so glad you're able to make it on here because I imagine a lot of folks haven't heard much from you. You know, I did an interview with you on the Chateau de Marcel studio for folks to get to know you, but you have not come under the pressure of the panel here when their questions.
Right.
So, you know, this is going to be a true test for you. But hey, let's go ahead and open this thing up. I won't be so rude to skip over your intro this time and have Tiffany give me that look. You know, what are you doing there? So go ahead and give us, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to the questions. And Tiffany, you're going first, so be ready.
Did you want me to? Am I waiting for Tiffany, or I mean, I'm a Republican.
No, you're waiting for me to mess up your introduction. Go ahead and tell us about yourself.
I'm a Republican candidate and I was born and raised here in Indiana. Moved to Boston. Spent 15 years on the East Coast in Boston and New York. You know, different neighborhoods, different ethnic groups. You know, it living in the big city, and you just meet all kinds of people. And things move fast. And so, but, you know, I still hold that hometown Indiana, you know, the morals and the values here. I think you know, during our last interview, John, I mentioned that my parents were from, you know, my dad fought in World War II, and my parents lived through the Great Depression. And so they passed down that strong ethic for freedom. And the understanding that you know, our country is unique for that reason. We have the ability to follow our dreams, and other, you know, we have the ability to get an education. You know, we have the ability to make something that we choose to out of ourselves, and so it's extremely important. Other countries do not have that. They don't share that. And people are limited.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, so you moved back here, and I'm going to go ahead and ask the question before anybody else does. So, Tiffany, I hope this is your question. What in the world made you want to run for the 7th Congressional District? So, I'm just taking the low-hanging fruit on this one. And so hopefully that wasn't your question, Tiffany. So why?
Yeah, to me that seemed like you know, having kids of my own, you know, when they're learning different things in school, and you know, they came home a couple times talking about socialism. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, let's go back and look at what freedom is, and let's look at how important this country is, because you know, we went through kind of having our country tarnished for us. And, you know, the kids kind of, in my estimation, they're kind of off track with, you know, we need to value our country. Every single person in this nation needs to value that the precious gift we have of freedom. We do. And we need to teach our children the true meaning. And so, looking at the different offices, I'm used to, like I said, you know, small town life, big city, and I feel like I'm somebody who can put one foot here and then step out immediately into a bigger setting. And I've worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and sat in a lot of boardrooms and sat through meetings. And so I feel like I can be here and, you know, on the East Coast or wherever I need to be. I've lived all across the country. And so, you know, Congress seemed like a really good fit. And I think, you know, being, having more of a voice on, you know, in DC, rather than having it limited here to Indiana, to me, I wanted more of a national voice.
Okay. All right. It's where you thought you fit in best. So that's a good answer. Tiffany, what question might you have?
Sure. So I appreciate you giving us the background about what motivated you to run as you were talking about your children. This is just a thought. I was just wondering why you didn't want to be on school board, because it seemed like that would probably, that might fit with what you were talking about just a little bit. But moving on to my question, seems like there's a crowded field of Republicans running for this seat. And what distinguishes you from the other candidates?
Well, you know, I think, as I said, having the ability, having spent a lot of time on the East Coast and then here, and having done a lot of big business, represented Steve Jobs and Weiland, the artist that traveled across the nation. I'm just, being out there and understanding like small town life, and then, the bigger city. And also, I have really focused on the problems of what I see as political corruption. To me, that is very important to address. And so, yeah, I mean, I think political corruption and teaching our kids the true meaning of freedom are kind of my focus.
So how is that going to better empower your constituents? Do you live in the district?
Yes.
Fantastic. So from what I understand about the district, it's very diverse, Democrat leaning. So how is your background in business and having lived on the East Coast, how's that going to benefit your constituents?
Well, there are a lot of things going on right now in the the roads are falling apart. We have soaring gas prices. We have soaring food prices, and these things need to be addressed. And I feel like I could walk into any boardroom, any meeting, and feel comfortable expressing myself with regarding the situation that we're all living through this. I feel like I would be a strong voice, in looking for a solution. I'm very solution oriented. I'm not interested in, some people might go into a room and they might yell and degrade someone. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in solutions. So I'm very solution oriented.
And
All
final
right.
question. So a lot about being successful is going to be working across the aisle if necessary. Can you just give us an example of when you've worked with other people to accomplish a goal, working with your team and pulling others to your side?
Sure. I was president of Cathedral Women. So we put on Strawberry Festival, Monument Circle for 20,000. And that involves bringing all the families together. We had Bake Week. You have to coordinate baking 20,000 shortcakes. It's quite an undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And also pretty much all my life, I've been involved in, as a youth, I was a camp counselor. So building community is very important to me. I had a youth group leader, and basically he raised all of us to learn how to build community and learn the importance of negotiating, compromising, and finding solutions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Lucy, I see Dorn has put in there the Red Pill Expo in the chat. There's nothing to do with you, Jen, but I'm just saying he has put a leash on that guy tonight, Lucy. He's all over the
Hey,
place. He's making fun of me and my permits.
I can't control this guy. I'm telling you. I had to marry him because he was so smart. I wanted to harness that. Jen, welcome to the show. So thankful that you're running as one of the sacrificial Republican lambs in the 7th district.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah, I've seen this race, many times over and over, and I feel for you because, as libertarians, we sometimes accept that our races might be a lost cause, but I think there's nothing worse than a lost cause of a Republican running in the 7th district against the Carson dynasty, right?
Right.
So my question for you is, you want to talk a lot about freedom and true freedom. And I'm really curious as to what true economic freedom means to you. What would you do to combat inflation, for example? How would you return monetary freedom to the people?
Wow,
well, I'm sorry, John, what were you saying?
I was just saying, wow, that's a good question. I'm glad you didn't ask me that. Go ahead, Jen.
I take issue with the taxes being raised as high as they have been. I take issue with the fact that we only got less than 5% of our oil from Russia, and yet we have soaring gas prices that in turn raises the trucking prices, and that in turn raises the food prices. And so we need to look at really what's going on. I don't think that we're being told, honestly, the truth about these soaring gas prices that are affecting everything else. So, you look at I look at anyway, the whole ball. It's not just one issue. It's a multiple kind of mess. And you've got to kind of sort through it and address one thing at a time. And so, there was another part of that, well, I was going somewhere with it, but
what would you do to restore economic freedom? I mean, economic freedom starts with personal property rights, and it starts with the value of money. So the reason that Dorn posted the redpillexpo.org, I think it was .org, whatever it is because G. Edward Griffin, who wrote the book The Creature from Jekyll Island, which chronicles the story of how the Federal Reserve was birthed and took control in this country of our monetary supply, is actually going to be in Indianapolis in July. So I'm super excited about that. I didn't tell him to post it, but I privately sent it to him and he did that. So are you aware of the Federal Reserve being a federal, not being federal at all, and in fact being a private corporation?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I were in the Senate, the very first thing that I would do is combat and hack at the roots of the evil rather than just trying to take off these little twigs. Do you have any aspirations towards ending the Federal Reserve?
Well, when you take on a big monster, you've got to really think things through, and you can't just run at it. I mean, you've got to find a way to get in, work with people, negotiate, and really get to what's going on. In my perspective, I guess I kind of look at, this is a little bit kind of to the side of what you asked, but I kind of look at the situation in terms of, we prosper when the more we lean toward equality, the more congruent we become with freedom. And the more a society leans toward crime and corruption. And so when you talk about the Federal Reserve, it's a privately owned company. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to say that it's crime and corruption, but I am going to say that it has a hold over the people that can be extremely unfair. So when you have a situation like that, and you equate that to something like, you break it down and look at something simple like crime. Crime is a group of people victimizing another group of people. Okay. And that creates inequality, and it limits our ability to have freedom on an equal basis. So, when you look at the Federal Reserve,
you could attack it from the different perspective, which is the Constitution specifically gives Congress the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. And they abdicated that right to that private corporation. So the end result of that is literally what is a paper rectangle today. So we'll take, the word dollar, it's 1/20th of an ounce of gold. So 20 rectangles in 1913 would buy an ounce of gold. It now takes 2,000 rectangles to purchase that same ounce of gold. So inflation is that secret tax where the cabal and the elite can literally create money out of thin air, and they get to spend those rectangles before the inflationary cycle hits the rest of us. So it's very, very insidious. And if you could just get elected, I'd be so happy that if you could go in there and just make people stick to the Constitution. And if we stick to the strict Constitution, we'd get rid of the bankers.
Yeah, well, and that's part of, we have to move this country more toward being congruent with what makes freedom, for all of us, and that is included in the financial aspect of this nation. Because once you have a money conglomerate, raising prices and making life difficult for people, causing people to struggle, that's part of breaking the society, and it's not acceptable. It is really not acceptable. Housing, the American dream was, once something that we could attain and achieve. And, now there's a lot of corruption that's causing people to struggle and causing people to be destitute. And it's not the way we need to run our nation.
Can we just look ahead and see what's going on with BlackRock buying up all of the housing at 20 and 50% above housing prices, above the market? So that here's my prediction. My prediction is that once they have cornered a large part of that, because part of this is the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, I like to call him Satan Claus, and he said by 2030 you will own nothing. Well, if we own nothing, then who owns it?
Right.
And so when I ran for Senate, the thing that I saw is my desire to stand in the gap and to be the person stopping the train. So you have to have brave men and women who are willing to go in there and say, I'm not negotiating with evil. There is no compromise. You guys have ruined us. You've taken away our private property. And of course, the biggest part of private property that's protected by the Constitution is our own physical being. We own ourselves. We own our own labor.
Exactly.
And yet most of us are going to be in work for another month or so before we've ever even paid the tax burden. So what I really want to know is, how will you fight for individual freedom for each of us?
There has got to be an overhaul. There has got to be. We've got to, as you said, stand up and take our nation back, so that we're not being financially enslaved, socially enslaved.
Are you willing to go take a chain and a padlock and just padlock the door shut of the Federal Reserve and tell them, no, the printing presses are off?
Don't give her any ideas, Lucy. We don't want her to win. And
I'll
then
be
the
there
first
with
day
you.
Oh yeah, that's going to help. Take Dorn too. 'Cause
Let's get together at Tiffany's bonfire and talk about this over beer, okay?
Yeah. There you go.
That's what I'm talking about.
I better get an invitation, girl.
That's what I'm talking about.
I can't do that, Jen. Thank you for the invitation, but I don't drink or smoke. I think I'm the only libertarian that doesn't smoke. Well, there are other libertarians that don't smoke.
No, just the bonfire, like outside with the fire, not like not like that.
We don't have to have you drink. I totally respect that. I've worked with adults with disabilities, and everybody has a different, and beyond.
What are you trying to say? Lucy's got a disability because she doesn't drink? I'm just
the libertarians would say that I don't drink beer, so I must have some sort of disability.
Yeah,
we could have it over a pot of tea.
That would be it. I will gather those organic herbs and forage them from my own land and bring them for you.
Bring us some ginseng tea.
I'll bring
All right,
Larry
Jen, I'm
Gold's,
going to go ahead. We're getting a little long in the tooth. We have Rusty still to come up. I'll give you the last little word here of why we should vote for you. And then we're going to go to Mark Small and Small Talk, talk about some gerrymandering. Oh, boy. So go ahead, Jen.
Well, I'll tell you, and I've wanted to share this this meme. I wrote it a little while back, so I really do want to share this with people, and I'm just going to kind of read over this. We, the people, employ our government workers to uphold and serve our Constitution and our laws, from the president to the Senate to governors to mayors, the state representatives, right down to the city councilmen and the judges. And when they break our laws by not upholding the Constitution, and when they refuse to live by laws themselves, when they tamper with evidence, elections, defund police, and kill our military personnel who are paid to protect us, when they create bills to steal funds that place their own interests and agendas before bettering, protecting, and serving the nation, when they perversely alter our laws in ways that allow our children to be victimized, raped, trafficked, physically, mentally, and emotionally traumatized for life, when they imprison parents for protecting children, and when they promote using dangerous drugs and medical procedures on citizens, when they break our laws to endanger our lives, then their actions are criminal. They are no longer fulfilling their duties to protect citizens in our nation, and therefore we, holding the power over them, must unite and remove them. So that is my reason for running for office, and I just want to share that. Please, if you agree with me, if you align with that, I really feel that our nation is so important. Our way of life is so important, and we must preserve it for our children. And if you're with me on what I just read and what I just said, vote for me.
Lucy may vote for you. That's that sounds like something she would really like right there. That Constitution thing was fairly important, and it is to a lot of folks. Well, Jen, I really appreciate you coming on, and I know you haven't had a lot of time in front of a camera, and you're doing better than when I interviewed you in the studio here. So keep up the good work. Keep fighting. I like your spirit. You got, I like that last thing you read there. It really had some good thoughts to it. And I think has a lot of direction that I think a lot of folks can resonate with. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and listen to Mark Small. And on the other side of this, we're going to have our third and final candidate tonight, Rusty Johnson. And one quick thing to watch Lucy jump up and down. Hey, Lucy, Mouthwash has got a press pass to the red pill coming. Like I told you. So I'll probably send you because I have no idea what the red pill thing is, and it's even right by my house at the Wyndham here. And we got that little bed and breakfast hotel, down in the basement that we used to live in that you can sure stay at. So anyway, that's a side note that's we don't even need to talk about right now. So let's listen to Mark Small and Small Talk, and then we'll come out on the other side. And thanks, Jen, and we'll have Rusty Johnson on the other side.
Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk for April 5th, 2022. What would it take to beat Andre Carson in the general election? That's a question for the candidates who are running in the Republican primary to take that seat. A better question is, who wants the Republican candidate in the 7th Congressional District not to win? And I'd say most importantly in this whole equation would be the Republican Party, the leaders of the Republican Party. If you look at what gerrymandering is, that's where one party tries to put as many people as possible from the other party into just a few districts. So like in Indiana, the Republican Party in the last election, 2020, for congressional districts, got 58% of the vote. Democratic Party candidates got almost 40%. Libertarians got 2%. But that's 7 congressional seats that they took, and that represents 78% of the congressional seats. So you take gerrymandering out of it, all of a sudden the Republican Party only has 6-3 or maybe 5-4. If we have proportional voting, it would break out that way. But what happens is if the Democratic Party is shut out completely? Now, there might be people out there on the GOP who think that God and Jesus are on your side. They're not. But you can't disenfranchise 40% of the people in the state and brag about it and then ram things through as the Republican Party has done. The Republican Party nationwide is a party of losers. That's why it hasn't been able to win except on the White House, except through maneuvering in the electors and how the electors vote. So what would it take for a Republican candidate in the 7th to win? You'd want to overwhelm the Republican Party leadership and make sure that they thought that it was okay to blank the Democratic Party. Libertarians aren't going to be serious about it. They're arguing too much about philosophy and not about realistic ways of winning seats. So you don't really want to think about a 9-zip if you're a Republican, because if you do, we might see an end to gerrymandering. And actually, I think the overwhelming majority of people oppose gerrymandering. My name is Mark Small. You can catch me on Civil Discourse Now, 7 o'clock on Tuesdays on this same Chateau de Mars Hill network. Peace, love, freedom, happiness, nano, take.
Them's fighting words, Lucy. Somehow I got Bill Allen on there. How did I do that? There we go. Let's get this all straightened out there on this thing here. Okay, I like it. All right.
I don't see anybody else on there. Hold on just a second.
That's all right. You don't have to see them. They're stealthy back there.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. I can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Can you hear us?
And we can see you.
John?
I can hear you. You cannot hear us. So you have, are you on a tablet? He can't hear us.
I could go ahead and bloviate on about the Federal Reserve while we're waiting for him to figure out his technology.
I think you should take Mark Small down a notch.
I can't see anybody.
Well, let me.
I can't hear anybody either.
Can you hear us? Can he hear
Yeah,
us?
he's going to have to start over. Let me speak to the truth that Mark Small was spewing, which is that it's very convenient for both of the old parties to work together in something such as gerrymandering, because as Mark Small did point out, you take your Democratic voters and you put them into that small concentrated area, and you have that sacrificial 7th district seat. And then what happens is that it keeps the Republicans strong in the other ones. And so basically what they've done is they've negotiated the sacrifice of the 7th congressional district seat in order to leave the others for the Republicans and to give them a better chance.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was busy trying to chat here on the back. So how can we I think he's going to get this together here. I know he's been on before, so I don't know what happened. What happens is, for anybody that's future guests, if you have a tablet, you need earbuds. If you have a computer, you probably need earbuds. I have speakers, but sometimes that'll reverb through your microphone, and you don't like that either. Now, we do have an echo. There's a setting here we can put on there to stop that, what they call echo. And if you have a beautiful green screen like Lucy and myself, you can have that. Tiffany has her famous backdrop that is, very professional, and with a professional microphone that too. But we're seasoned veterans. We've been on air together, and I'm still concerned with Ed. We're going to send a search party out for him. You know what? He may have got attacked by, and after I called Tiffany professional, her camera falls over. He may have been attacked by the Bigfoot. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Got it at Walmart.
Yeah, that's good. Hopefully not the one that burned down out here, because that was a fire now. So let's see what we have here. Let's see if we got Rusty.
So John, quick question. As Rusty's getting
John,
on,
call me.
Let's see what we have here. All right, he said call him. So go ahead. Quick question. I don't know what I'm supposed to call him.
There's 4 Republicans on the ballot.
5. We have Gerald Walters. I've never had heard of him. Angela Grabovsky. She's actually Russian-born and Ukrainian, and I don't know why she didn't want to come on. So, but she did not answer back. I asked her several times and in person, but I'm like, I don't know who would ignore free press. I mean, it's so hard to get some press. So now I have 2 of Rusty's back there, and no cameras. So
who's the favorite?
I don't know. I would almost have to say that Angela may be the favorite because of the situation in Ukraine. She's going to get a little bit of the sympathy vote in that area. And honestly, we've heard several times tonight. It's a tough sledding, especially after other than Mark making fun of the Libertarian Party, he was pretty right about the gerrymandering, because it used to be the bottom 6 townships in Marion County, which the bottom 3 are, they're pretty close to 50-50 Republican Democrat. But when they flipped it up to the north side, it really makes a difference. And I think they did that too, to insulate some of the candidates that actually come into Marion County, so they don't have a chance of losing. So I think that's very correct on what they did. But hey, those are the spoils of war. If you're in charge, you got to make it. You got to make the rules, just as
Victor writes history.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just like the city county council is 20-5 Democrat, they got to rewrite the districting here in Marion County, which I guess those maps are out. I just haven't had the heart to look at them. So that gives you a little history on how the maps are drawn. And I'm still not seeing Rusty, but does that mean we can talk about him since he's not on here? Oh, so, but so anyway, what's going on with you guys?
I'm just here trying to overthrow the state, to eliminate the state's power over any of us. I'm just an anarchist, voluntarist, looking for other people to thumb our nose together, at the government, looking to trade in private coin instead of surveillance coin. so that the
Well,
government can stay out of my business.
Yeah, let's talk about Andrew Horning for a minute. Because he's running.
I love Andy.
Yeah, and I went down and interviewed him at his house in Freetown, Indiana, and I met his family. I mean, he's a great guy. His wife,
One of my favorite people.
His wife was giving that look, dude. If you ever run again, I'm gonna kill you. And here he is. She must have gone out of town, and he signed up for something because, but he's a pure constitutionalist, and if we want to stop some government stuff, he's gonna rein them back. So, but I don't know.
So here's the thought: it's that, who's really going to be effective in Congress? Is it the person who can work across the aisle? Does it matter more whose party has the majority? Because, here's a question. What is the most influential role in politics?
I don't know. That's a good one. Well, I guess another question you might ask is, would you rather have somebody that's been in there for 40 years that knows all the ins and outs, that's enriched themselves, or maybe somebody that doesn't know their way around? I mean, you always have that deal where, hey, they could get in there and they could go right over to that party and enrich themselves. But it's almost like, hey, how hard can it be to figure out? Some of these people I see talk every day in Congress, they haven't impressed me. So
wasn't it George Carlin who said that bipartisan meant that there was a bigger than normal conspiracy against the people going on, or some words to that effect?
Yeah. Well, when I ran for mayor and they both parties kicked me off the ballot, that was a bipartisan effort. I definitely joined both parties together. So yeah, I think that's right. So hey, I do see Rusty backstage, but no camera. So maybe you got to get it straightened out here. I gave him several warning shots at the start of this, and I couldn't see his camera.
I think that's my question as people walk this journey. It's like, what kind of influence do you want to have, and can you really have it in Congress? I mean, how much are you going to really affect crime in Indianapolis if you're in Washington D.C. part of the time? And I just don't know if and then like who's going to get sucked up by the engine and the machine, and like where can people really make a difference?
What is there? 438 people in the House, and it's basically ran by one or two people. You vote this way or else. So I guess you're right. You are a small fish in a big pond, and especially as a freshman coming in there, you're not going to be on committees. They're going to have all sorts of ways to put their thumb on you. So you got to wonder what that's going to look like, and how much, like you said, Tiffany, how much authority are you going to be able to have? How are you going to be able to move the dial? I do see some folks out there. Most of them get on TikTok or Twitter or something and make their way through there. But what are they really doing? I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene down in North Georgia about how cray she is, and other people love her. And it's like, okay, so what's she really getting done? I mean, she basically tried to impeach Biden the first day he was in office, and that didn't work. So what authority do these folks have? So I still see nothing on Rusty. Let's see if
because it's like, they say like, most politics is local, and it's like, if you really want to influence what's going on in your community, why not work locally? I don't know. I'm just pontificating, just tiff thoughts,
Well, and that is a good question. And I think that, running for this office is particularly, you don't have to live in the district. You don't really need any money. You need to file a FEC if you raise some money. If you don't raise money, you don't have to do any of that. But if you don't have any money, they're not going to get your message out. So I don't know what we have that. So
you don't even have to live in the district?
Nope. No, you don't have to live in the district to run for the U.S. House. Obviously the Senate, you just need to live in Indiana because it's the two spots. But that's a whole different story. You have to get signatures for that. This position here is probably one of the easiest ones to run for. And the same with the state house. And I wonder, well, why not start at the state house with positions? But as you can see, we have, I think, 23 primary challengers for Republicans, for the majority holders of our state this year. And it makes you wonder, okay, how hard is it to break in? And I see these folks struggling, and I'm running for the Indiana House. I don't have a primary challenger, but I have a Democrat long-term guy that's going to be hard to move out. So, back to the same question: do you want somebody in there that's going to work hard for you that may not, be beholden to these large fundraisers? But if you don't take some of that money, how do you get your message out? So you're getting that catch-22. But at least this is a local thing.
I think another problem with the congressional seats versus the Senate seat, although it's a problem with both of them, is that once you get elected, your only job is to get reelected. Yeah. And so when you've got 2-year cycles, they're constantly running. Yeah. They're always running for office. And Andre Carson has been fabulously successful, not only riding the coattails of grandma, but also because he fulfills the promise that he makes to his constituents, which is, I will fight to get more money for you away from all the other people in the country. So he's literally saying, I will steal more money for your benefit than anybody else. That is his unique selling proposition, if we were talking about him as a business.
Yeah, and running every 2 years, that ain't no picnic. The Senate's every 6 years, the U.S. Senate, and every 4 years here, and then they alternate those. But the House of Representatives is all of them every 2 years, and man, 2 years goes by quick when you're having fun. So
I think Susan should have run again.
Susan
Smith.
Oh yeah, but I tell you, it's grueling.
It is.
But she did a good.
I think she got like high 30s, maybe 40% of the vote, something like that.
I think she was around 38, 37, which was better than just straight Republican tickets. So that does show some folks are probably not real pleased with things. But it just comes down to, are voters going to want to listen to a show like Mouthwash and get to know some other other candidates. And honestly, everybody's out there fighting to go get bread before it gets to $6, and then get their gas before it's $8, and we're just fending for our lives. So
everybody needs an electric bicycle and a deep freezer.
Yeah, so I'm going with a pedal bike, and yeah, Lucy, she's like back, going, you're growing your own stuff. Hey, Lucy. Oh, yes. While we're killing time here, my 10 chicks are in the mail as we speak. Coming to
what kind did you buy? What kind did you get?
Isa Browns. Those are.
He got Chick-fil-A chickens. He got Chick-fil-A.
No. The Chick-fil-A chickens are actually the Cornish cross, which are distinguished. Yeah, they're distinguished as being meat birds. I'm ordering black Australorps this year, and the reason I chose them is because they are a dual-purpose bird. They will lay 250 to 280 eggs a year, which is not quite as good as the Isa Brown, but darn near every single day. And I think the girls deserve a break in the wintertime. So I'm okay with 250 or 280 a year. But they dress out really nice, 5.5 to 8.5 pounds, which is a decent size for a bird that also, lays a large quantity of eggs. For those people who are thinking about what they can do with the coming meat shortages that are being engineered right now, so that we'll all be forced to buy Bill Gates plant-based solutions or insect-based solutions for our protein, I've really been looking into meat rabbits.
Meat
rabbits, yes.
I'm sending Elmer Fudd down to your house so you can get them.
Yep.
The rabbits.
Yes, exactly. Him and his musket.
So who butchers the chickens at your house?
Oh, I hate to admit this publicly, but I've not ever butchered a chicken, and I'm going to have to do it this year because we're doing.
I really expect.
I haven't killed anything.
Wow, Lucy!
You look like you're excited to do that.
Wow.
I don't.
I'm excited about eating them, but no, I haven't butchered any chickens yet. So I have a dear neighbor who has butchered many a chicken, and she promised me that when I'm raising my meat birds, that she would come over and help me. And I'm not looking forward to it, but
sounds like a mess.
Yeah.
Do you have like a stump to do it on? Like a
No, actually what you're supposed to do. So I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube. This is only secondhand experience by watching videos. But you get a cone, you get someplace, like a cone, and you put the chicken in so that its head comes down through the bottom, and then you get their neck, and then that way all their blood drains out. But
like
the
a little
real fun,
guillotine, like a little
yeah,
chicken
exactly. But
guillotine.
they're upside down, and so they can't flop around because they're in the cone. And then you put them in hot water, and you dunk them, to help loosen up the feathers. But the real fun happens next. You throw them in what I call the chicken plucker 4000. So it's a drum with silicone fingers that stick out, and it tumbles the chicken, and the silicone fingers remove. Yeah, it takes like 45 seconds, and it completely plucks the bird free of feathers, which is much better than trying to do it manually.
Will you save the feathers for a pillow or a nice jacket for the kids? Like down jacket?
No, I don't think you can really do that with the chicken feathers. But I appreciate Sam saying that raising the rabbits for meats and pelts. I will definitely message you, because rabbits are, gosh, they're just such a great meat. It has a high value. You can do a lot of production in a small amount of space. And I love to sew. And so I've been watching a lot of videos on, how to cure the pelts and, pickle them and then get the membrane off and then, sew them together and turn them into blankets. And yeah, so like I'm all ready for the zombie apocalypse. I don't know about you, Tiff. Are you ready? Are you growing your own food?
It's not ready for that.
I'm gonna learn how to make lip gloss, so I guess I can just stay glossy.
She's gonna make sure she's gonna make sure the tank in her car is full at all times so she can drive to your house. Don't even let her.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm moving in.
Hey, don't laugh.
Come on down.
Pick me up on the way
I'll
home.
be there.
Now, folks, I just want you to know, it's amazing we haven't lost one person off of our audience here. But, folks, this is about how our after the show talks generally go, except, sometimes it's a little racier in those things. But, hey,
That's right. We talk about Alan Sir Jr. We get really racy.
Really racy, yeah. That's not the one I was talking about. Making me turn red a little bit.
So, John, I think you should host a political event around a bonfire, and you should just invite everybody, just like all kinds of people. And Tiffany and Company Realty Group will sponsor $100 in beer, Natural Light. But
ooh, Natty Light, baby, come on, let's talk now. My bike team will be down there, half of them. Well, I would do that here, but
I'm so funny.
I'm telling you, this is what it's like, people. This is what I have to deal with. After this show, it'll just get worse. The next day,
it goes all downhill rapidly. But hey, as long as we've still got viewers, let me put out a plug for a couple of my favorite YouTubers. Canadian Prepper is absolutely amazing if you want to find out what's really going on. Now, he's way more alarmist than I am. So like every day he's like, oh my God, World War III is actually going to start. And here's why. But one of my favorites is Ice Age Farmer, Christian, I can't remember his last name. My absolute positive favorite is Curtis Stone, who wrote the book Urban Gardening, The Urban Farmer, TUF, The Urban Farmer. The Urban Farmer.
He wouldn't be the son of Papa Was a Rolling Stone, would he?
No. No.
I see how I did that.
It would have been
Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin. That's right.
I should learn how to make wine for the apocalypse.
You should. I bought a kit, but I haven't used it yet because even though I don't drink myself, I still need alcohol to make my herbal tinctures.
Well, Jesus drank wine.
Wait a second. How do you?
He did. He did the good wine too.
Right.
Yeah, I make wine, by the way. I have Chateau de Marseille wine. I make like 30 bottles of Tiffany.
I'll try it.
Out of what? What's your base?
I have Concord grapes here at Chateau de Marseille. That's that's
nice.
When you watch the end of the show, when it says Chateau de that's my
really is
vine. Yeah, that really is it.
Hey, can I bring you some elderberries? I'm starting my little elderberry farm down here. Can we make elderberry wine?
They're too old for me. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, that's
your
bad.
Political event will just all be around the fire pit, just like having some Chateau de Marseille
wine,
some Natty Light.
And that's a great combination, and some cheese. But I have to be careful out here. I've only had the fire department out here for about 5 times for burning stuff. I haven't been really supposed to, but you didn't hear that here.
So maybe a gas fire pit is better for you.
Yeah, something like that, or somebody else's house would be
You
good.
got to keep the law off your back.
Yeah, I know. They got to be under the microscope. And I'm sure there'll be do you have a permit for that in the comments? I just can't wait for that one. Oh, we could have like grape stomping. We could do like a grape stomping party.
Hey, I saw a
Grape
video with that.
squeezing. You don't want people stepping on them.
Hey, that's what Lucy did in that one episode. She and Ethel had a great time.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, that's right. And
I like the chocolate episode better.
By the time it goes through that fermenting process, there ain't nothing that's live in there. But I use, let's see, B71. It is a French yeast. And I picked that French yeast because it goes good with Concord grapes, but it also go with my French chickens. The Isa Brown is a French breed. So
I did not know.
are you starting to see a theme here? I worked so hard to put all this stuff together, and nobody even notices. It's just sad.
Well, wouldn't you want to do a white with chicken?
I don't know. Chicken is a white meat.
Wouldn't you want to do like?
But you want a white wine,
yeah.
possibly. But mine's red. Mine's a sweet red. It's considered sweet red. It's about 16% alcohol, though.
Ooh.
Lisa calls it sleeper wine. So
sounds like cough medicine.
Oh no! Come on, Tiffany. Don't make no squinchy face on my wine.
I love cough medicine. So this is one of the things that I didn't realize when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was a latchkey kid. We lived in Germany. Both my parents worked. And it was like the late 70s, and both my parents smoked. So I would come home from kindergarten and first grade. I would have a cigarette butt and some cough medicine. I don't know why, but it just made me feel good. So in retrospect, after a hard day at kindergarten and first grade, I guess I would just tie one on. I don't know. The cough medicine, it used to taste so good.
Well, it might taste like a jelly sandwich if you want to get, because it's Concord grapes. That's what they make the grapes out of. So it's not bad. All right, everybody. Well, we're gonna have to do something different with Rusty at some point. It's a long ways till, actually it's not that long till May. So maybe we could get the other two on here. Jared Walters, if you're watching this, hey, come on, we want to see what you got. And Angela Grabowski, let's go. We want to see what you got. So don't be scared of us. I mean, we ask really good questions. We'll make you look good. You'll shine like a star. So anyway, that looks like it's going to do it for the show tonight. And we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll have Ed back because I don't know what happened to him.
I miss Ed.
I know.
Ed's a good guy.
It's like, so hopefully the Boston.
With his little bitty teacup.
Yeah, he's funny. He's like busting your chops. It's funny. I love it. And like, you just run right over me when he's not here. He's my protector. So, but all right, everybody, let's give us the peace out. Let me find the ending of this fiasco tonight. And hey, we got 2 out of 3 that we were working out right. So that's what you have when you got a lot of moving parts. All right, join us next week for, hey, what do we have next week? While we're at it. Are we going to talk? Let's just put it this way. If there's any other candidates out there that feels like they can walk this gauntlet, let us know. I know that I had a couple that have shown some interest, so I'll probably be reaching out. But if, hey, nobody does, we'll come up with something. So, all right, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.